Wonderful, wonderful. We're just starting the recording here, and at the same time, we're going live on our groups in Facebook with this amazing interview to our dear friend Réya. Interviewing Réya. Wonderful. Let me check it here. Share in the groups. PhD Healers Network. And okay, we are starting the live stream. Moment.
Yeah, I'm going to be right there. I'm getting something. The meeting is
Okay,
being live streamed. Okay.
wonderful. We are going live here on Facebook with our dear friend Réya, and we're going to start in 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
There.
Wonderful,
Here's more
wonderful.
drum.
Yes, yes, it sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
So, welcome here, Rhea, to this amazing space in our community, in our group, for this wonderful, wonderful interview. And let me tell everyone who is Rhea. Rhea is an amazing friend. She's been facing so many challenges, health challenges, emotional challenges, physical challenges, and now she's so better. I'm so happy to see her not only much better but also willing to share her incredible story about how to overcome very difficult challenges. So welcome here, Rhea.
Thank you for inviting me, Fernando.
Wonderful. So, just for those who don't know me, my name is Fernando Marengo Rodriguez, doctor in engineer and coach and entrepreneur, and also biofeedback trainer. My I am also known as PhD Fernando Coach, and we're just doing this interview to our dear friend Réya Doucette. So, could you please share with us, Réya, what your name means and what it represents for you?
Okay. Now, I don't know. It's a mystery. Okay. I've looked everywhere. The way it is spelled, I have not found anything. So I asked what the answer would be. And it says it's a mystical name, and ask Fernando and Luisa to find out what it means. So it goes back to you. You tell me so I will know. And
I feel it means strength and resilience.
thank you. Okay.
Wonderful. So, could you share with us, Rhea, which challenges you have overcome so far?
What challenges? Well, it's been a lifelong journey in with challenges, and I was unaware of exactly what was going on. I was born into a culture that was a small culture that was uh, belong during the colonial time, and our little group was developing a culture of their own, and it was very exclusive. Now, in that culture, everybody seemed to be very intellectual, or most of them, okay? And I was always a spiritual person. So here's me speaking one language My parents looking at this child and wondering what's going on, including everybody else. But there was always a lot of affection for me, but somehow I wasn't understood. All right. And for whatever reasons, the one thing that my life has been strongly influenced by has been backbiting. Okay. And I don't know why. And so that sort of brought about a lot of problems for me when I was young. And somehow, being in the security of my father's home, I had that protection. So when I became a widow and my husband was not there to, face the world for me, suddenly I realized, oh my goodness, I don't know anything. And all the people who are supposed to be there to help me, they're not what they say they are. I don't have a place of trust. So, what happened, to make a long story short, I had to lose everything I had. So, it happened at a time when I was searching for a place of belonging, a place I could call home. And I found that it was a spiritual place. And um, so I lose everything, and I'm diagnosed with very bad depression. And so I'm spending my time with
Hello, Rhea. Are you here with us?
that beadwork suddenly happened out of the blue.
Uh-huh.
And I was amazed at the designs I was turning out. And it was in the quiet of the night. And I started listening to the sounds of silence. And it was magical. And suddenly, and I didn't have a sense of discernment. I used to trust everybody right off the bat because what I would see is the light of the person. And when you see the light of the person, it is pure. You see the whole thing. So I would walk in there with my soul wide open and just give in trust. But then the feedback would be very different, right? And suddenly I'd realize, oh my goodness, uh, they let me down. There's no trust. And I said, what am I going to do? Because I can't tell the difference. I don't know. And nobody is helping me with the answers that I need as to how to develop my life as an independent person who can take care of two little children, right? So this one night, suddenly there was a download. And I had prayed about it. I said, please give me discernment. I don't have it. And one night it just came down, and I got a formula for how to use my mind to find my own answers. As soon as I got that, I felt a sense of emancipation and freedom from that dependency. So thereafter, when there was nobody around to help me or people to answer questions, I used that formula. And that is, when I looked around at the world, I found that most people don't know that they have the power within themselves. It's all about asking the right question. And that it's as simple as that. So it doesn't matter. I didn't have money, I didn't have help, I didn't have people I could rely on. I, it was just about asking the right question, and the right help would show up. And that began to become the strength that has seen me through horrible uh, states of health, things I could have died from, things I could have been crippled by. And the stresses over all these years resulted in a state of nerve damage that was the symptom of extreme stress and complete burnout. And I said, how am I going to cope? Because my environment didn't understand that. And the medical system just didn't know how to deal with it, right? So then I used my little formula and I paid attention to the inspiration that was telling me what to do, where to go. And it was amazing because suddenly words would come to me, call so and so. Oh, where did that name come from? I had not heard of it. I had not heard of this agency. I didn't know that this is the medical thing that I should go to. So that is what started happening, and that is how I have made it. And so that proved to me we all have a sense of self reliance. We do not have to depend on everybody else to make our lives happen for us, because people will help us, but they will give us what has worked for them. All right. So they're giving. So in the end, when I was angry and I felt everybody had betrayed my trust and this, no, they didn't. What they did is they gave me what was true for them, but it wasn't true for me. So I started crashing. My health started going, stress, all this, only because I didn't understand. So that is how I have made it. And I've met the people I've met, and people come into my life, mysteriously. They'll give me what I need, and it's lovely. The energy that comes from these encounters and walking through that, I keep experiencing challenges, but it's all right because I know what to do to try and get out of it. And recently, I had an experience, a very traumatic experience. And while I was in that environment and I didn't realize how traumatic it was going to be, I was surrounded by this circle of what I call my tribe. And I was talking to them all the time and all this. And what I didn't realize is they were energizing my spiritual self and they were making it strong to meet that challenge when it showed up. And it got me out in safety by sending to me people who had their kind of light, that really cared about me, that saw that I was not a person who was not a nice person. So, you know, so it was like in that safety, I was out of my body and I was looking in on this person who was going through this trauma of trying to get out of a difficult situation. But how without very supportively, everybody who would come to help me, this carry my luggage, this, that, and the other, they were so kind. They treated me like I belonged to their family. And so here I am on the outside looking in, and I'm watching all this played out. And I said, how amazing is that?
Mm.
But that experience became the apex of all the challenges that I was going through in my life that I had to get through. So I needed that trauma to break my last attachment to the stuff I was attracting to myself. All right. And so when that broke, then I came home and I stayed in this circle to move me forward slowly because I needed to grow spiritually and I had to cut myself away from the general population. It was like being isolated. I had to isolate myself. And so slowly by slowly, and I found treatment for my nerve damage and it's working very well. And suddenly I've had a lot of people constantly telling me, Ria, get out there and do your work. You have so much to offer, but it wasn't happening for me. And suddenly I opened up with a strength that said, all right, Ria, enough. Stop procrastinating. You've got what it takes. Get out there and begin to do your thing. So here I am. I really have no other answer, Fernando, other than to encourage people to begin with learning how to use your mind to find your own answers. And that is one thing that I teach right off the bat.
So this is very serious because I've been talking to some people who are suffering from um, have been suffering from depression, and some of them in really serious depression. And you stated something of paramount importance, which is not letting yourself getting getting too deeper into that, but asking the right question. That's what I learned here. Ask the right question. What is this teaching to me? What is it showing me? What should I do different in order to move forward? Right?
Exactly. And I want to mention, since you brought up depression, I was diagnosed with suicidal depression, unconscious suicidal depression. So I was doing things like I'd forget to eat for days, and then I'd get really sick and really weak. And other people didn't know what to do to help me. But that is how my subconscious suicide, the need to die or wanting to die, began. So when I was diagnosed with suicidal depression, I was shocked. Why would I want to die? So I came home and I asked myself, I said, do you want to live? Because my hardships had gotten the better of me. I was tired. And I asked myself, I said, do you want to live? And I was shocked when the answer came back and said no. And so immediately I said to myself, I said, I want to live and I want to live well. Where did this thought come from about wanting to die? But that is a symptom of depression. Why? When it's called separation individuation, and we can talk about it another time. But it just, when you go into a state of depression, it only shows you how far removed your human self, your ego, has become from who your soul self, who you really are. Okay? So you're going through this tunnel of darkness. But the way to go through it is to know that this is what's going on. I'm going through the darkness to get to the light on the other side. There's always the light. So never give in. So when you're falling into darkness, you must have something, a strength to hold on to and pray or ask that get me through this safely and bring me out safely on the other side, because I want to live and I want to live well. So what I did is I made lots of little cards and I wrote on them, I want to live and I want to live well. And I stuck them all over the house at eye level, because even when I didn't feel like living, at least when I saw the cards, the words would go inside and feed my subconscious. And it's the subconscious that
Mhm.
empowers us. All right. And it'll kick in and it'll give you the strength. And if you ask that, always send me help when I'm at my lowest and my darkest, the right thing will show up.
Wow. And now that you said, yes, I want to live, and this is of crucial importance for those who are watching this interview, what keeps you motivated? What keeps you inspired to continue living?
Just when I'd be well enough, I love life. I was all over the place, happy, all this kind of stuff. And I got diagnosed with bipolar. That's how happy I used to get and then fall into these deep depressions, right? But there was an innate feeling that said, I'd be darned if I'm going to allow any person, place, circumstance, or thing to rob me of my God given right to live and live well. So that became my affirmation. And I always turned to the higher power to keep me on track and to protect me from doing something that would harm me. First thing, we are spiritual beings learning how to live the practical life, and we must connect with our soul self. And if we don't, we've got to connect with a power greater than ourselves and our illnesses, right? So even if it looks like a cloud, whatever it is, but it has to be stronger than what we believe we are. Now, if we keep connected with that and we ask it to protect us and keep us well and bring us through, the help will move in when we need it the most. So, and I was going undiagnosed, Fernando, and it was horrible. For years, I was going undiagnosed. So, when these things were happening, I had two children, so they became my salvation because I had to live for them. So, there's always something in your life when you're feeling well out of your depression. Look for that one thing that you want to live for. Look for the love that everybody keeps talking about, that keeps us well and loves us no matter what. And even if you don't believe what you're saying, I want to live and live well, just keep saying it. If you can't say it, look at it, paste it on your wall. It'll pull you through. And then during your moments of strength, then make sure you get out there and you start connecting with spiritually strong people who got their hearts in the right place, right? And it's not so much what people will say to you, it is the spiritual energy that will, come through and pull you through. So I hope to God this sort of understanding is brought into mental health, uh, and and people with depression are taught these things because they don't speak about the spiritual strength, right, to rely on. So it's very important. Yes, there's a place you've got to take medicine depending on how bad it is, like I used to take, but now I phased off of that. But always my medication is with me because I never know when it's going to kick in. All right. So it's always advisable to have that bottle somewhere where you can reach it when you're at your worst. Right.
Yes, yes.
So, yeah. So
Um,
anything to do with depression, and I, it's one of my career is based on the foundation of on community development and mental wellness, and I'm a peer support for mental wellness. I've done that, and but I've never really used it in a professional way. And what I started doing, because I wasn't being employed, uh, started noticing very sick people, lovely people who are homeless, who walk around sitting there on the streets. So I said, those people cannot speak for themselves, yet they've got, they're geniuses, they're amazing people, they've got something to contribute in the world, and they're sitting there and nobody recognizes that. So what I started doing, I said, never mind society and what they have to say. I used to take off and I'd go get a coffee or something. I'd go and sit with them, and usually it's not advisable to offer them something to eat. What you do is you give them some money so they can buy their own, because if you take something and they get sick, then it's on you. So you have to be careful. So always go there and find, if nothing else, There are people who wander around, uh, nobody's ever acknowledged them, and we refer to them as the invisible people. Nobody, like, they're walking, nobody, we just walk by them because they look raggedy, they look poor, whatever it is. Nobody recognizes. And I went through that myself, so I know what it feels like. And all it takes, Fernando, is to look into the eyes. And if the person catches your eye, all it takes is give them a smile. You don't have to say anything, but you acknowledge them with the eye contact. And I promise you, you will experience the difference in that person. You will see, and I'd stand there and I'd look at the eyes and I would see life come into it. I've had a fantastic journey, so whatever hardships I've been through, these things I have learned.
It sounds so magical and so full of light. This is very beautiful what you share, and I appreciate very much all of that you shared so far with us. Could you could you share us if how you have already helped others? You already talk about peer support. Is there any other way you have already helped others?
uh, it's just by being in community. And I had an experience. I was experiencing a lot of aloneness, and I there was just nobody coming, nobody saying hello, no nothing. And I remember one day I turned and I said, all I need is someone to come and wish me well. That's all I need. I just need to hear that encouraging words. And what happened was, as the day went on, suddenly a car pulled into my driveway, and it was a woman, and she was looking for an address. And so I went out, and she asked me where something was, and I told her, and she thanked me. And I was still feeling depressed. She walked towards her car, and as she opened the door, she looked at me. She looked at me in the eyes, and she wished me well, and she wished me a happy day. And I'm telling you, I lit up like a bonfire on the inside. I couldn't believe it. And that fired me up. It got me out of that state, and I felt loved. It didn't matter. I didn't know who the woman was. I never saw her again, nothing. So that is an important thing to remember. And when you're going, all right, if you see somebody who's looking poor and raggedy or sad or whatever, it's not always necessary that you speak with them.
Mm-hmm.
What is necessary, when you're passing them, in your mind, you wish them well, you bless them, you wish them well, you wish them happiness, and you let them go. You forgive them for whatever it may be. And uh and you thank, and you say, thank you for giving me this opportunity to be able to send a little prayer for this person quietly in your own mind, and you keep going. It makes a big difference.
Wow, and it reminds me of this box of messages that I received as a gift from my dear friend Andre Matos on my birthday. And one of the messages that I picked a card, and the message said one day, most beautiful thing that you can hear from a stranger is have a blessed day there. Someone else might hear that from you. And it reminds me of what you said, reminds me of
Yeah,
that message.
yeah.
And it's so simple, so
Very
simple.
simple. And you
And
don't even have to say it. You just, s- inside your soul, let your
with your
soul say it
intention.
for the person.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Exactly,
And one
exactly.
of the things, Fernando, in these questions I'm answering, this is very important. One of the things I recognized, and it's not a common thing with a lot of people to recognize this, but I recognized that the human being is a spiritual being learning how to live the practical life. So we have different levels, okay? We have the spiritual level, but the spiritual level, if I come to realize a truth, and everybody loves it and whatnot, you know. Then here at home, all right, it's let me burn a candle, let me do this, let me hang this there. And slowly, slowly, I did start developing rituals. And the people who come and feel all ignited by that, then suddenly it sort of has a tendency to turn into religion. All right. If I'm spiritually not mature, my ego gets affected, and I like the attention I'm getting. And then I begin the religion. And if I'm not spiritually mature, then that's the end of it, because I'm in there for the money that's coming in. We have to be very careful with ourselves, with our spiritual selves, because the ego is always dancing there looking for whatever to fill its needs. Okay. So we have, that's how religion sort of comes in, organized religion. Okay. So, but in the end, we must stay strongly connected with soul, so we don't go off. We don't allow our ego to run away with us. All right. So then we have the spiritual level, then we have the intellectual level that says, I think I'm this, I think I'm that. Then we have the emotional level, and the intellectual level is about words and numbers, how to do things in practical ways, right? And then we have our emotional level, then we have our physical level, and then we have our practical life and living and the things that we do. Now all these things are like wheels of a clock, that when one wheel turns one way, the next wheel will turn twice, and the third one will turn four times, and all the way up to the top. If we say a prayer, we've turned the wheel at that level, and that starts coming down. So when we have a problem, we have to learn to recognize at what level is the problem coming from, and that needs to be healed. Okay. So healing, in the a holistic healing approach, I've learned that we have to learn, as we develop, we have to learn to recognize these various levels, how they work, and how we can apply it. And we also have to learn a little bit about human behavior and why people do what they do. To become a competent holistic healer, we have to have all these little tools.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I may suddenly think, oh, I think that person has this problem. Maybe it's me projecting what's going on in me on that other person. So there's a lot that goes into this, this holistic thing. And I feel that it's being loosely used. Oh, I'm a holistic healer. Hey, what does that mean? How do you apply it? That's the question that needs to be asked when somebody says that, you know, and it is a very serious responsibility. So
Yes.
it's better to say, oh, I'm just an acupuncturist, or I may work with beads and I do mystical work. And what does mystical work mean? It means that I do my designs out of inspired thought. But that always has a purpose, because it's like a sacred design that's making a difference in the environment, you know? And so we have to be clear about what we are doing and how we answer the questions that are being asked about what do you do? Because if I take on the responsibility of taking on, like, doing the work that I do, and suddenly the person gets stuck, how am I going to help them get out of it? I can't turn around and say, hey, your time is up, next session. Maybe that person doesn't have that time. Maybe that time will either mean either the person feels so helpless that they'll go home and finish it off, or that you're available to them. And I do know some healers who are very given to their work, and they leave they don't overwhelm their work with too many people, because they understand this. You know, when we begin something, when we begin to cook a meal, we have to finish it, otherwise it'll remain raw and it'll rot. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes.
So yeah.
I can't agree with you more when you described already the different levels
Yeah.
of how the messages are coming to us. Messages for good and for bad, right? For something
Yeah.
wonderful or something that we're about to face, some challenge we're about to face. It reminds me of the following experience I had a couple of years ago. In 2020, I think, yes, 2020 was. Uh, I was walking in the beach with my wife and I just heard a very soft message, like a feather caressing my ear. And that message said, "You have 2 weeks. Have 2 weeks before lockdown." And I immediately told my wife, "I received the message. We have 2 weeks to walk here in this beach freely. Then we will have lockdown, and then we will have to be in our houses, and most people will have a lot of financial problems. Maybe some places will be robbed, or there will be some kind of assaults out there because the situation is going to change drastically in the next few days.
Mm.
So let's get prepared for that." And she told me, "Are you serious? You're kidding me." And then in 2 weeks, Florianopolis, this city, was the first one in Brazil that practiced lockdown. So it already happens. If we are already very calm, we can get the messages from the spiritual realm. And then
Yes.
we get into the mental, we interpret it with our minds and then with our emotions. And then it became part of our life in the physical dimension. So it is like this is an experience that shows how it agrees with your point of view, because the more subtle messages are the ones that will become part of our our day-to-day life if we pay close attention to that, and it helps us get prepared for what is coming. If we are not paying attention to what's happening, to what we are feeling in the spiritual realm, if we have not trained our intuition to see or to hear the messages beyond our physical senses, then we're going to get surprised by those events and we're going to say, "Oh my God, this place is happening. We're going to go to the supermarket to buy all the foods that we can," and all these kind of things, right? So it's of paramount importance to awaken our senses first, to have our five senses clear as much as possible, and then our mind clear, our emotions stable. With biofeedback training, of course, this is possible, and something that we are already doing here and has miraculous effects. And if of course after that, if we activate with the right discipline our intuition to see and to hear beyond our five senses, that will help us make progress ahead of the circumstances. So I
Yes.
appreciate what you shared, Reya, and I would like to know from what you said, all of this, just to wrap up, how can you define your mission?
To heal and teach out of the strengths I grow, to help people empower themselves to become truly independent people who stand strong in their own authentic light. I don't know how else to, simply put, I think because I spent all my time, all these years, just people come to me for help and I help them. And I don't really leave them on their own till a task is accomplished, right? And
Mm-hmm.
now I'm having to formalize all these things I used to just do for nothing, right? And so for me, this is something that I have to learn, is how to professionalize uh, what my strengths are and apply them in a professional manner, you know.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So so basically, I want to see people happy. I want people to understand if they are sad, you have to understand where it's coming from. And if sad things are happening to us, it's happening because we are conditioned, we are carrying around a conditioning that tells us that suffering is all that we are worth. All right. So what we're doing is we become a magnet to attracting more of that sadness to us, and people will come and they'll do things to keep us there. So it's called paradigm. It's what we've been conditioned to believe. So the journey of life really is to free ourselves, get all that stuff out of ourselves and connect with who we authentically are. Now, I do know in my own circle of support, there are two people who live and function out of that level. And it's phenomenal what kind of independent lives they're living and so content with what they have, you know? And so uh, they teach how to connect with the silence. It's simply that is what meditation is all about. It's to still your mind. Say from the Bible, it's written, be still and know that I am God. And that is how we still our minds, because inspiration from that level cannot come through if we are busy all the time thinking and doing and this and that. You have to sit still and sit in a state of silence so you can hear that when it comes, when we need
Wow.
it. Yeah. So it's all a process, Fernando, and each thing can be taught as part as programs that I put together. But it's as simple as that. For
Mm.
the sake of the interview, we can't go on like for days, like a course, right? So so it's all about teaching people all these little things that they can use to really um, live out of a sense of understanding as to why things happen the way they do, and walk away from understanding what the lesson that hardship came to teach us. And that has been my biggest strength, when I realized that hardships have been coming to me because there was something I needed to learn from them. So when a hardship would come, I learned to talk to the hardship and say, all right, why are you here, and what is the lesson you want me to learn from you? And as soon as the answer comes, hey, I don't have a problem anymore because I understand why it's there. Do you understand that? So
Instead of
next time, you can do this for yourself, Fernando. If you're having a problem or whatever, you just ask. If some sadness comes to you or whatever the case may be, you just ask that experience. Say, what are you here to teach me? What am I supposed to learn from you? And then just be quiet and see, it'll come, the answer will come. And suddenly say, oh, that's what it's all about. And that is one way we grow, we clear, we clear our souls, we rise, we become more spiritually aware. So
wow,
that's so hopefully from this interview, if all the people in your whole town and your island learn this one thing, all the people who may be suffering unwellness, poverty, whatever it is, if they can be taught how to speak to the problem and ask it, what is the lesson you're here to teach me? What am I supposed to learn from this? I'm telling you, within a week, your whole island will start shining like a big, big light. Because suddenly, when you know an answer, you become free.
wow. I wrote it down to share afterwards in the video. Speak to the problem and ask, what are we supposed to learn? What am I supposed to learn here? Instead of Why all this is happening to me? No, say, what is this? What are you showing me?
Yes, that I'm supposed to learn. All right. Now I'll send you a quote that I left India with. It was full of light. And
Mhm.
I had to come, I had to return to Canada. And suddenly, and I had begun my spiritual journey, had begun then. I was doing yoga and meditation and all that. I became spiritually awakened, as they say. All right. So, and I had read a lot of religions and the big yogis and all their work, whatnot. And there was this one quote that came to me, and it was by Buddha. What I'll do is I will post it for you, and very simply put, and here Buddha tells us that no, other people don't make our lives happen for us, we do it. And in our suffering, we are alone. So we want to stop suffering, we have to do it for ourselves. It's amazing. So I believe my whole journey in North America, as one of my members have said, my group members have told me, they said, Rhea, look at your hardships where I live. Look at them as your um,
Teachers,
spiritual university that's been preparing you
your
for the
teachers.
work that you're supposed to do. All right, the quote is, by ourselves is evil done. By ourselves we pain endure. By ourselves we cease from wrong. By ourselves become we pure. No one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path. Buddhas merely show the way. So, in the end, it's all about self reliance. Okay? So, and then for me, how do you do that? Hey, you learn to use your mind to find your own answers. Why did this happen to me? Hey, because you did so and so and you hurt that person. Now that person is waiting to get their back on you. So, all right, I have a problem inside. I've got to get it out of me, right? So when it comes out of me, well, then, hey, I'm free. I don't have that anymore. And nobody is going to come and reflect to me what I've got going on the inside of me in a hurtful way. That is how we free ourselves. We are each mirrors to each other about what we're carrying about ourselves on the inside. If I see you and I see somebody who's not very nice and see he's this, that, and the other, hey, all I'm seeing is what's going on inside me. So in the end, there is no blame.
To
There
know that.
is no blame.
There
That
is
is
no
the
blame.
biggest one. I could not believe it when I was told this. It took me maybe a year for me to
Mhm.
understand that.
Only
When I,
responsibility, not blame.
pardon?
Responsibility.
Uh,
There is no blame. There is only responsibility. We response. We take
yes,
responsibility.
a responsibility that what has just happened is
Mhm.
a reflection of what's going on inside me. I'm carrying that and I'm attracting that to myself. That person has been a sign that has come to me that I need to clear that up. So I need to look inside myself, and so that way I have many resources. All right, my toolbox is just overflowing with
Mhm.
people I met who help people in certain ways, how they help, all of that, mystical people, spiritual, highly spiritual people, loving, kind people, all sorts. So if somebody comes to me and I don't have an answer, at least I know where to send them
Hmm.
or encourage them to go, right? Then that is their choice. If
Mhm.
they really want to be free of whatever it is, they will accept that. Otherwise, it may take time before they finally get fed up of being sick and tired and say, all right, I've had enough. Now I want to live and I want to live well. Maybe I allowed myself to suffer as much as I did because I was comfortable
Mm.
suffering. Maybe it was getting me attention that I never got before.
Exactly.
So, So let me be sick, and somebody will come and say, "Oh, you poor thing, here's some soup for you," something. And many people keep themselves sick because it gets them attention, which is better than no attention at all. And I watched too many people die from that. How do you reach these people? And that becomes a whole other story. Um, you have to be able to draw on what it's going to take to be able to reach that person to make a difference, if that is what they're supposed to do, right? It's
Yeah.
complex. It's complex. It's like a whole universe full of all sorts of methods and tools and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, no matter how competent a, a healer may be, maybe that healer is not supposed to finish my healing for me. They're able to finish it in part, but it is somebody else's karma to help complete it, because their soul needs that to
Mm-hmm.
make it right between them and me,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever the case may be,
Mm.
make it right for themselves, right? So, one of the things about healers is healers need to recognize that we don't have all the answers. We just don't. No matter how much I love people and I want to see the world happy and whatnot, no, I can't do it all. But there is somebody there who has an answer, who can answer your question. There's somebody there, and you've got to be willing. Get your ego out of the way. You have to, because if my ego is playing, no, I want that. That's my thing.
Yes.
I'm not going to give my crown to somebody else. Right? So that is spiritual immaturity. That is the ego talking.
Yes. That's why we have our healers network group to for mutual support, right?
Yes. Yes. And giving freely, it doesn't matter if somebody takes has learned something from you and they take off and they make $1 million out of it, and you're sitting there with just $10. Maybe that was your gift. Your soul was meant to give that person. Hey, let it go. Let the world is full of people, and whatever is authentically yours, you will be taken care of. You will be compensated as a gift for helping that person get that information. We never lose. When we give out of our light, we never lose
Exact.
anything, we gain.
Exact.
So
Exact.
that's part of the spiritual development. So it takes away the the resentment, the jealousy, the envy. We have to clear ourselves of that, because as human beings, yes, there's a tendency to feel envious of somebody else. And no, I'm not going to tell so and so about somebody else. Why should I? Oh, no, no, that's going to cost you money. You want? No. We do that, we are hurting our own souls.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, if we can just give it and just walk away from it, be happy that we gave it, we will become, our souls will compensate us. The greater soul will compensate us for that many times over.
Mm.
And that is so true. All these things I'm telling you is coming out of my own experiential learning. And I have seen how it works in my environment. And Fernando, people don't know how to say thank you.
Mm.
They don't know. Very few people come back and say thank you. It doesn't matter. They're
Mm-hmm.
happy. I'm happy. I've got all kinds of things to keep me happy. I've got a great team of people I can chat with and spend days chatting with them. What more do I want? I've got food, I've got blah, I've got blah. You know, my life is rich. I'm being able to live my life freely, to be who I am. Maybe not everybody approves, but I don't hurt people deliberately. I try and be the best that I can be. And I ask my soul to work through me to reach all the people I meet in the day. I don't take it on myself, because as a human being, I don't have that. My soul has what it takes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh,
So,
well said.
so see how all these levels work, and we have to learn how to work with each level. Now, if one of your levels is blocked, then the wheels of the clock begin to stop. All right. And if we don't unclog that, then slowly the whole clock comes to a standstill, which is what happened to me when my nerve damage happened completely. All right. There was too much stress. I was carrying too much stuff, and I needed a big spring clean, is what happened.
Yes, yes. And which final message would you like to share with the audience now that we are finishing this interview?
We do it to ourselves. There is no blame.
I love it. We
Thank
do
you,
it
Fernando.
to ourselves. There is no blame.
Yes.
I love it. I
Oh,
love it.
nice. Thank
Thank
you.
you very
Thank you.
much, Rhea. Beautiful,
Hey,
beautiful
thank
interview. I
you,
enjoyed very
Fernando.
much.
Thank you. This is so lovely. Look at, I'm coming out, and here's Fernando pulling me out of my hole that I buried myself in. Thank you so much. Really,
Thank
you're
you.
awesome.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Take care.
thank you. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day.
You too, Rhea.